I was on Twitter. I was scrolling through the timeline this morning, and was reading about Keke Palmer. And yeah, so she made an interesting statement about the use of EBT cards, right? And how, excuse me, she just said, imagine if
Look at Olivia's face. If you're watching on YouTube, Olivia is perturbed.
No, I didn't hear this yet. So yes, Bridget, finish because I know where this is going. This is a mess. This is a mess.
It was a mess. It was a mess. Sis got up this morning, found the biggest, craziest silver spoon she could find and stirred the pot with it. Okay. And she said that imagine if the initial conversation was about produce and the fact that healthy foods are more expensive than everything else, right? Which is true. Healthy organic produce is more expensive and also more perishable. So you're not really buying things like, for the most of us aren't buying things that are going to last for, they're going to last a day. That's a waste of money for the most part. It's a waste of a resource. But she said, imagine if EBT cards could only be used for healthy options, and then like put mad eye emojis, right? There's a couple things wrong with that. Couple things. And I love Keke Palmer. So don't get me wrong. I love Keke Palmer. But I will say there's a couple things wrong with that. Number one, you can't police somebody's money. That's number one. Number two, you really can't police somebody's money who is more than likely in a situation and a predicament where they're supporting and sponsoring more than one person. So they're not making decisions just for themselves. They have to make decisions probably for children or for elderly people or for other family members that might benefit from the EBT situation. The other thing to consider, and then because then she came back around when she got a little backlash, and she said, she added Kamala Harris and said, listen, I know you're new here. I know you're new here, but it would be really great if, it would be really great if people that do have EBT cards could get access to fresh, healthier options for free. Right?
That's not happening.
So here's the thing.
Farmers of America are not allowing that.
I was going to speak to that because I grew up on food stamps. So, bitch, when we could get them public subs, and my mama was like, you can get the name brand cereal, the one in the box this time, not the one in the bag. It was a big deal. You know what I mean? Because
they don't even you can't even fuck with hot food no more.
No. So in some places,
and the conversations
is like letting you slide. Yeah.
He might
But see, coming from the South, if you're receiving EBT or food stamps, 9 times out of 10, you're not in an area that provides those healthy options like a Whole Foods. Bitch, I live in the Bronx. I got to go all the way down to either Harlem or 86th Street to even a Whole Foods. So the idea of that is like it's just not accessible.
And most people that are on public assistance that have EBT live in food deserts, like you said. That's exactly what they're called. They're called food deserts. You don't have access to as fresh produce. And even if you do, it's still inflated, and it's outrageous. It's outrageously priced for people who aren't.
I was an EBT mom back in the day, but when infant age and stuff like that or whatever. And I mean, I'm plant-based now, but I was trying to be vegan, and on EBT, it's almost impossible to do because, like you said,
unless you want to eat rice and potatoes,
right? Exactly. The produce in the urban areas are. Unless you're getting broccoli, like you're not getting kale. It's going to be expired. The fruits are terrible. Like there's nothing in season. You're not getting quality food.
You're buying the canned collard greens. You're buying the stuff that's going to last for a good period of time. Because again, you're making decisions for people other than yourself. I think the other part, people took it a step further.
Can you tell me why Kiki is even commenting or making here's the problem. Again, a celebrity talking about something that they literally are not facing, that they are not a part of, that does not affect them at all.
Not currently. She did come from nothing, and there's
a lot of bitch, I was watching her on Aquila in the Bee. That bitch done had money for a long time.
Please do not get it twisted. When you are a child actor, you're not necessarily getting all that money.
That bitch
and hold on, when you're a kid though, your parents get that check. I can't believe she went as far back as Aquila
in the Bee, bitch. Tell a word right now. We about to go to a
Tell
spelling
her
bee on
little
that ass.
7-year-old quick, Mandy.
I don't want to hear it, bitch. That bitch was.
It was. I mean, it was just. It was an unnecessary part of the conversation. The other thing that I think we have to be sensitive to when we discuss things like healthy eating is triggering certain people when it comes to fat phobia, because I think there's a lot. There were some people that responded to Kiki that were like, this is very fat phobic, and telling people that trying to police people's eating habits is it's being insensitive. And I struggle with this, right? And I'm gonna get a lot of flack for it, and people could say I'm gonna get dragged for this in the comments, and it's fine. But I've always wondered and been interested in understanding the difference between weight, like really finding the correlation between size and health, right? Because we know a ton of different celebrities that are outside of the basic regular framework of what we consider to be normal, right? What we call plus size or overweight, that are actually healthier probably than some people that are skinny, right?
Right.
It's like, how do we have the conversation about health without turning it into a fat phobic conversation? Like, how do we encourage and support healthier eating without making it about somebody being overweight? Because in the grand scheme of things,
y'all ever seen a vegan plate? That shit full of carbs.
It's full of carbs.
So them hoes be fat too.
Vegans eat a fuck ton of rice.
Vegans are annoying. Vegans are annoying. Same way Muslim with their bacon.
I'm
bitch,
vegan.
Well, you annoying. I don't want to go out and eat with you. Shit, we went out to eat after recording, and you were like, no me, no. All right.
It's like, all right.
Meanwhile, when I'm plant-based, but that's the thing. When I'm plant-based, I gain a ton of weight.
Yeah,
because I'm eating way more.
So I don't even believe healthy. I honestly don't see much of healthy eating as a fat phobic thing. I'll be honest with you. So I had weight loss surgery, and it wasn't even really about what I was eating, but it was portion size. And I think that that's the thing that we don't talk about. Like, you go to Europe and a lot of Americans complain about how much they serving you.
The smaller portion.
You know what I mean? But in a lot of our communities, the rice, the beans, all of that shit be a lot. Are y'all doing chocolate starfishes again, or what is it?
Yes, we are.
When you eat
portion size, guys.
Yeah, better food. Your starfish is happy,
and your booty hole is happy too.
Your starfish is I
think it's hard to have that conversation, right? Because I get upset when I see really little young children that are really overweight. I struggle with that. I really do. I struggle with it, and it's not to place blame on anybody, but I struggle with it because as a kid, you have no concept of what good health is really, right? But you're subject to bullying. You're subject to more negative attention that you shouldn't
and pressure
have to process
from your family and parents.
I just struggle with that because I feel like it's really it's an important conversation to have about health in general, especially about the impoverished communities that in this country that struggle with weight issues, because weight issues from a surface standpoint look like they indicate health issues, and it's not always the case. But I still want us to be able to talk about that kind of stuff without it being, I mean, I think Kiki Palmer meant well. She made a comment about the fact that healthy food is more expensive, and that people that don't have access to it because it's outrageously priced should have access to it for free. I think that's fair.
Even I'll be honest with you.
That also just makes you like is a really an awful assumption that people that are on public assistance are not necessarily are deliberately choosing things that aren't healthy options.
But I was also gonna say, even tying those things in together, her saying healthy food, I wouldn't necessarily tie to fat phobia. It brings me to if any of y'all saw Lizzo's interview with David Letterman, the idea that people look at her as an unhealthy individual because of her weight, that's not even true. And I remember too, even when I was 230 pounds, mind y'all, I was 230 at 5'1". So if y'all want to think of what that may look like, but I would go in, I was firm, I was solid. I could still run with the small people. I didn't have high blood pressure. Right. And so the idea too that big means unhealthy, I hate that we have that correlation, because I wouldn't necessarily put the two of those together either.
No, when it comes to celebrity, when it comes to that level, that platform, I think it has to be case by case. When it comes to
Right.
in my mind, when I think about children, I think about the unfairness of a kid that maybe doesn't have health issues, that doesn't even can't even recognize what health issues might be, being in a situation where they might be overweight for their age, right? Because when you're a kid, you're looking at you can't necessarily judge a kid by what they're eating necessarily. You know what I'm saying? Like you can't. It's a
Yeah.
kid. Like you can't really
Right.
say anything about a kid. And in general, talking about other people's kids should be off limits anyway.
That part.
I'm just thinking right. And I think overall, if we're
Man,
discussing the
fuck them
health,
kids.
I think if we're discussing the health of kids and just just like the overall access to, we have to talk about the access to it. We don't all have the access to a Whole
We
Foods. And even
don't.
if we did, it's like, girl, half of that shit don't taste good. Shut up, vegans. I don't want to
It
hear nothing from
don't.
y'all. Stop
I
trying to
was
tell me
about to
buffalo
say,
I'm
cauliflower
gonna
is
be
real.
very
It's
honest. So
not.
there's a lot of vegan shit that I'm just like, no.
I ain't gonna lie. I tried, baby, but a bitch ain't giving up oxtail or bacon. It just ain't happening.
That was a
No,
hard thing to give up. Oxtail? That was
girl,
very
if I
hard
go to
give up.
jail, that's my last meal. Fuck you mean. Give me the, and I want the big oxtails, not like the little
Enough
bullshit.
gravy.
Same.
Enough
Mad gravy.
Extra
gravy.
Smother
gravy.
my rice with that gravy.
But
Don't
I
be
don't want
cheap.
I don't want the little tiny ones. You know when you might go to like the
No,
bullshit
no, no, no,
Jamaican
no, no, no.
spot?
I needed the
I need the
big,
shit with the
big joint.
big old with the meat on it where you just and I know that
Alright.
sounds
The
like I'm sucking
slider.
dick. You know what I mean? But I'm
Slider.
not. I'm sucking
Turn my
Spoon.
oxtail.
headphones down.
I'm sorry. I'm
And be
sorry. I'm
slurping in my
sucking
ear.
oxtail, not dick.